Hello everybody, welcome back. My name's Laura. If you're new to my channel, I like books, and if you're returning, thank you very much. Today I am just talking about a book I read a few months ago. It's going to be turned into a television or a film adaptation soon. I think it's going to be a series, but it is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is the first part of the Boys of Tommen series, and I flew through this one. So I'm currently about just under halfway through on the second one, but I think I'm actually going to take that one with me on holiday and finish it there. They're thick books. They are. I mean, they've been out a few years now, so chances are you all know what the deal is with these. It is set in a high school. I think they're like high school age, well, college age kids, and it's set in Ireland, which again, it's nice to read books that are set in different countries, not always just in England or America. So I absolutely loved the setting, but this one, it's a dark read. I'm quite impressed with it, but it's not for the faint-hearted, not at all. So it follows Johnny Kavanagh, who is an up-and-coming rugby player, and he goes to Tommen College, and it also follows Shannon Lynch. She is from quite a poor upbringing. She is the only girl in her family. She's got quite a few brothers. Her older brother moved away, and cut into the meat of this story features abuse, and they don't hold back at all when it comes to the darker elements within this story. And I actually loved it about it, because this book goes to dark places and it is incredibly graphic with where it does go. But for me, I'm like, if you're going to put those elements within your story, go for it. Go in, show us. And Chloe Walsh, she goes there. And from what I've seen online, these are not easy reads. They're not light reads, but they're very rewarding reads. So Shannon has had it rough pretty much from day one. She has been left in charge of her younger brothers, because the mom and dad's relationship, when I say it's abusive, it's like next level abusive. And the mom's pretty much just checked out, but she is actually pregnant again, and it's a very, very complicated relationship that she has at home. It's a rough dynamic, but she is actually getting bullied at school, severely bullied. And I don't mean just teasing, she's getting physically bullied at school. So she's getting it at home and she's getting it at school. So she, after the latest attack, because her older brother, in defense of her, he's getting into trouble defending her, so it's decided that she is to go to Tommen College, which Tommen College is like a real safe haven for Shannon. She's got two friends there that she knew previously, who went to, obviously they went to different schools. They went to Tommen, she went to her local school. She finally gets to meet up with them, and that whole friend group, that was wonderful to see her reuniting with those two that she knew years ago. And I think across these books, you are going to feature each of the different characters that we do meet within this series, but the first two books are just Johnny and Shannon's books, and they're going to meet each other. So the first time that they meet, Shannon's crossing the rugby field as a shortcut. She gets conked in the head with the rugby ball. She can't catch a break, this girl. It's like concussions really are her best friend. And that's how she meets Johnny, and he does take an instant liking to her, but it's not a straightforward romance with this one, because obviously Shannon comes with an incredible amount of baggage, and she's very closed off because obviously of all of her experiences that have happened. And this is like the first steps to them forming a friendship and eventually a relationship. But they think, because of what's happened to Shannon in the previous school with the bullying, they think that it's been done maliciously. So initially you've got the whole Johnny's supposed to stay away from her because they think that he's, deliberately beating her up. So you've got that added complexity to it, but that's not the case. So you've got a lot of factors that are going to pull them apart throughout this book. But he's not deterred at all, and he's such a sweet character throughout, and he's really he understands that he's got to go in delicate, because obviously she's got a lot of problems. And I really loved the build-up of the relationship between these two, but it's incredibly tense, it's incredibly intense. But the themes that they are dealing with are, I think they are handled very well, but it is a rough read. So right to the end, really, the way the abuse is handled, I imagine, is quite realistic. So she's sort of clock watching. She has to get, I mean, she's got a right life, really. She has to get up super duper early to catch the bus, and then she's got to be home by a certain time, because the consequences of her not being home are, you know, it's life threatening. So she's currently in a state of fight or flight, but she does slowly sort of open up to Johnny, and it was nice to see them, nice seeing breaking down her walls, really. And the thing with this one as well, because it's got heavy topics in there, you do get a sense of the ricochet of what it is like to live in a household that is abusive. And she's got a lot of younger brothers as well, and to see them get old before their time, it's very tragic. And you get a sense of what it's like for this family as a whole, really, that are having to deal with this situation where, you know, she's had to bring up her other brothers and look after them and protect them, and she does take on a lot of the violence so that it doesn't ricochet onto her younger siblings. But everybody is affected in their own way, and you see the fallout from this horrible, dangerous situation that they're in. It's chunky. So she's a survivor, and this book, it's the first step to her coming out the other side. So this is a dark book, and nothing is resolved by the end of the book. If anything, by the end of the book, everything is incredibly worse. So it's a tough read, but I think as a kind of romance read, it's a complicated one, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. But it's one that I don't think you'd revisit it often, and I know they are planning on making it into a TV show, and they're trying to combine the first two books into the first season, I think, which, I mean, that's a hell of a lot of stuff to pack in. But I think if they are going to do it, I hope that they do go and honour the material and do show how bad it is for her at home, because I think it's going to make it more rewarding at the end when they do come out on the other side. But you've got to show how bad it is. And the thing is, because it is quite graphic, I did kind of think that it was important to show how it affects everybody within the household, and to some degree how it affects the friends as well. So when it all does become, you kind of glean that people do pick up on things with her, that things aren't okay at home. So I think it is well handled, and I can see why it is incredibly popular. But you've got to remember how young these characters are, and she is quite old-headed as a character because she's been forced to grow up before her time, and it's going to be a difficult relationship with the mom, with Shannon's mom. That one there, you do get very, very frustrated with the mom character. But on the flip side of that, Johnny's parents, they're like the total opposite. So you've got a real good dynamic between the two. So you can see that between Johnny's family, they're going to be a nice polar opposite to Shannon's family. But you've got an uphill battle to go before the end. But this one, for me, I flew through it. And it's funny because I have slowed down with the second one, because I think it gets so bad at the end, and you will want to immediately start the second one. But it's one of those that I am pacing the second one a bit more because of how dark they do go with the themes. But overall, I'm looking forward to seeing this one adapted. I think it's a good material, because there's a lot of really intense stuff for an actor to get into, but I think they need to go there, and I hope that they do full on go there. But I loved the characters that they've established with the friend group. I think Johnny's really sweet. The whole thing with the playlists, I loved all of that scene and the build up of the romance. The fact that it is slow burn, nothing is fast, because it can't be, because of what's going on with Shannon in her real life. And I think it's wonderful to read characters that do come from like polar opposite backgrounds, and seeing them come together and having real good chemistry. But it's not a straightforward read. That's why I think this one is so popular, and I did really enjoy it, because it gets into the weeds. You know, it takes you to dark places, but I think because of how dark it goes, hopefully when they do finally find their happy ever after, it's going to be really rewarding. You know, I want the best for these characters. These characters, they feel really, the way that they're written, they feel real. So she's a wonderful author, and she, you know, you can really picture everything. I can picture the school, I can picture their life, and so when terrible things do happen to these characters, you do feel really, really like terrible for them, because of how much you do like them and how well they are written. But it's complex material, and I think it's handled really, really well. So I hope that any adaptation does do it justice, really. So I would recommend this one, but it's a recommendation with, if you're a sensitive reader, check out the trigger warnings if you do need to. I'm somebody that will just go into something blind, and for me, I don't mind, but I know a lot of people nowadays, they can be. But this one was absolutely worth the hype, and I'm glad that I did pick it up, and I'm looking forward to finally finishing part 2 of this one. I'm trying to get them both done before the TV show's out, because I think I'd like to read the book first, because sometimes when you've seen the TV show, you don't always want to go back and revisit the book. But how are they going to get the bulk of the material from binding and keeping 13 into one season? I don't know. I would assume, in my head, I thought they would have gone, this would be season 1, part 2 would be season 2, but are they going to cut things out? I don't know. I also liked as well, on a side note, Johnny's an up-and-coming rugby player, and he's well known, and he's going to do really well. He's very talented, and he has been covering up a groin injury. So even the chapters where they describe what he goes through with the groin injury, it's very graphic. It's, you know, you see what he puts his body through because of the pressure that he's putting on himself and that people put on him around him with regard to the high level rugby that he's going to be playing at. So even that, I mean, I'm not interested in rugby at all, but yet that whole thing, the way he runs his life, it was very interesting to read and to see the intensity and the time that he does put into that sport. But that's another reason why he has been a closed book with girlfriends before. So when Shannon comes into his life, you know she's something special, that he's willing to look at something other than rugby for once. He has pretty much had one goal, one drive, to pretty much just get through school and then become this rugby player. And seeing him change and see him want to invest his time in something other than rugby as well was an interesting element to bring into this, and it made the relationship a lot more meaningful. He's a wonderful lead character, and I can't wait to see how they play that out on screen. But I think this is going to have to be an incredibly graphic and dark TV show, but it just makes for a more interesting read, really. So you've kind of got these like subgenres within, you know, this is within romance, that you have romance, but it's a bit more than that, because you've got really dark elements within there. So I would put it in dark romance category, like adjacent, because it's not just a straightforward flowery high school romance between two teenagers. There's a lot more going on there, and I think it makes it just a more interesting read. But I do like the fact that she didn't hold back at all with any element with regard to what's going on with Johnny, with regard to what's going on with Shannon, and like I say, it leaves on a whopper of a cliffhanger. So I imagine if you were reading this at the time and the second one wasn't out, that must have been absolutely frustrating to be left where it is left. And I think the second one does pick up pretty much immediately after this one. So if you haven't read it yet, thank God we have the whole series out. It was just wonderful to read, but it's a hard read. But I think these are books that you remember. But she is an author. I've never picked up anything of her work before. I will definitely be picking up the rest of the series. I did manage to get them cheap from the works. But like I say, this is not for the faint-hearted at all. But it's definitely a rewarding read if you're looking for a romance that's a little bit more. This is definitely one to pick up. And yes, overall definitely recommended, but it's a heavy read, definitely. But if you're in the mood for something that's a bit more gritty, a bit more dark, definitely recommend Binding 13. If you've read it, let me know what you think. Do you think the television adaptation is going to be a good idea? Do you like the casting so far of the people that have been cast? Let me know what you think, and if you've got any recommendations, always let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.